So the idea is this is a conversational interface to the system. And like Perry said earlier, eventually we're going to do a voice interface. And that's just the last step, because basically, if you can do the text, then doing voice to text and text to voice, that's basically a problem that's already been solved. There's solutions for that out there. But what people haven't solved is what we're working on, which is being able to have a system that carries a humanly intelligible conversation, and it is goal oriented. This is not just chit chat so that we can have a nice social conversation, but this is a conversation, like Pierre calls it, that is Socratic, that tries to help the interlocutor to externalize their thinking, because this is the challenge that all of us have. Is I've got a million ideas racing in my head. How do I get my brain to focus on just the key ideas, and how do I articulate them in a way that starts to make sense to me first, and then is easier to communicate actually with my stakeholders, whether it's my customers, my partners, my investors, whoever I'm dealing with. So from that perspective, all we're doing is basically starting that conversation. Hi, my name is Tiana, and feel free to state what strategic initiative you're struggling with, or you need help with, or you want to just explore.
To give for a little context, we started going through like our mission and vision statements, for example. So maybe we could start there. I could give you maybe a little write-up. It isn't official, but what we had in mind.
What I would suggest is that the
No.
system is very intelligent. Just state what you
What are you trying to solve? What is you
That's
trying
it.
to solve?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are trying to solve the technical gaps in negotiations for Caribbean states at the IMO. And those technical gaps include the data needed to inform the negotiations, and also the technical coordination of the participants in the negotiations.
Good.
And was the thing, the IMO, was that the
International Maritime Organization, yeah.
Okay.
So for our project, Caribbean Shipping Lanes, we are trying to be the engine, basically, to bridge those gaps.
So let me make sure I'm capturing what you're saying, Tiana. So we're trying to address the technical gaps and coordination in
The International Maritime Organization negotiations.
Okay. International Maritime Negotiations.
organization. Yeah, so
Organization. Mm-hmm.
you probably want to put them in caps, Ali.
No, that's fine.
Just leave it as it. Okay.
Yeah, the system is very tolerant even with spelling mistakes, which I'm notorious for, by the way.
Okay.
So we're trying to address the technical gaps and coordination in the International Maritime Organization for what?
For Caribbean states.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you finished with that. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Again, this is an ongoing conversation, which means you don't have to state a paragraph and completely give the context. You just initiate the conversation, and the system will engage you just like a human consultant and elicit more information as needed, or ask probing questions to further and where we need to go. Tiana, just to recap, so we started with this simple statement of what the current issue we're dealing with, and then the system comes back. Hi, Tiana, thanks for sharing this. To better understand the change, could you share an example of where these technical gaps or coordination issues have most directly impacted your organization's goals? For instance, is this about aligning systems across countries, sharing data, or something else?
Yes, it is. That's where the coordination aspect comes in, is about aligning the different systems across the different Caribbean countries, backed by sharing the data.
Okay. So aligning systems across countries by sharing the data, right?
Yeah.
Or back.
I just, yeah, I want to make sure I'm properly
This,
representing
this
what
is
you're
it,
saying.
correct,
Is that
Tiana?
correct?
Aligning systems, or you said back by sharing.
Backed by sharing, yeah.
Back,
BACK, backed by sharing,
BACKED, right?
Mm.
backed by
Yeah.
sharing the data.
Yeah. So Ali backed, but yeah.
Or sharing,
Right.
Oh, backed. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
backed
Backed
by
by sharing.
sharing the data.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks for clarifying. When you mention aligning systems through data sharing, I imagine this involves both technical integration, like compatible platforms or data formats, and collaboration between countries. To pinpoint the core challenge, would it be fair to say that the issue lies in establishing a unified framework that all member states can adopt, one that addresses both technical interoperability and the governance needed to sustain trust and coordination?
That's good. That's
Or
good.
That's
are there,
exactly it.
That's
I am
good,
like,
man.
oh my God.
Ali, sorry. I
No, that is
apologize.
crazy.
you're kidding me?
That is
Uh,
exactly the issue right there in one sentence.
It's magic. It's magic.
The
no,
o-
no,
the
there's,
the,
no,
the only
absolutely
thing
not.
the
There is
only thing
no
I would
magic
put
here.
the only thing I would put there to consider is that we are not politically motivated or are being funded or navigated by Caribbean governments. We're standalone.
That's great, actually.
That's just one thing to consider, but that's literally the issue.
So you're saying that's, you agree, but we are not politically,
Aligned.
okay, aligned.
So we really see
And
ourselves,
you are independently funded, is what you're saying.
yeah. And we don't see ourselves as prescribing, for example, positions to Caribbean countries, but just being the source of the information so they can make better decisions for themselves,
I see.
along with the coordinating.
Yeah.
We can only provide information,
Or
coordinate.
technical assistance.
Okay,
Technical assistance and coordination, yeah. Because we do
okay.
a lot of research and policy work as well.
But you're saying, but you cannot enforce standards or protocols for how these countries can exchange information.
No, we don't have that authority.
Just quickly read through this and make sure I'm properly representing what you're saying.
We enforce standards or for the yes.
Okay. I'm actually surprised that within the first two interactions, it got to the
Yeah.
core of the issue.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
No, that's
Says
really
now,
crazy.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
sorry, Tiana?
Yes.
No, you said I think you were saying something about.
No, I was saying that was really crazy that
Oh.
it was just able to identify, not just in one sentence.
Good. That's the idea.
So it's coming back again because we're still trying to confirm that we have the same understanding as you. So understood, given these constraints, would you say the heart of the challenge is designing a voluntary collaboration model that incentivizes member states to adopt shared technical standards and data sharing practices despite different priorities and no centralized authority to mandate compliance? Or are there specific barriers, for example, conflicting national regulations, resource disparities that make this particularly complex?
I would say resource disparities among the member states,
Okay.
and that is data and financial.
Okay. So data and financial resource disparities. Oops, typing in caps. I don't know why.
Hey, you're shouting. No, you're typing in Arabic.
Oops.
You're typing in Arabic, Ali.
Well, it's good to
Because
know. It's supposed to know we're multilingual.
Yeah, it's a multilingual. Multilingual.
That's the problem.
Your brain is thinking in Arabic.
So data and financial resource disparities, let's see if I can spell it. Disparities are the main issue, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because what it's
Yeah.
trying to do now, as you're speaking to it, it's actually formulating hypotheses and trying to ask questions that will either validate the hypothesis and confirm it or discount it and re-guide it to think differently. It's almost like it's navigating this thinking process. Think about it as an idea graph, right? Where it's trying to explore possibilities. And this is what I like about it, because think about it as extending your mind and you can explore all the possibilities more than what any one of our brains can handle, right? But it brings that back to you so that you continue to be in charge of where the conversation is going and you focus this conversation on getting you what you want. Okay, so let me test this framing. Is the core problem then designing a collaborative model for maritime data system alignment that accommodates varying technical and financial capacities across member states while ensuring no country is left behind due to resource limitations, even though participation remains voluntary? Does this capture it?
Yeah, and let me tell you another thing that I like about this response. So you see this line, while ensuring no country is left behind. That's
Yep.
key terminology within the IMO.
Okay,
That's
if I can
amazing.
if I can comment on that, how does the question is how does that statement come up, right? It's because of the design of our IP. It's empathetic. So maybe Ali, you can just explain to her, like it's not magic. I like to use the word magic, but explain to her why such an empathetic statement can come out of a machine.
I think it's
Correct.
magic. It's magic. Just simple.
Ali, we're killing you. Sorry.
It depends how you define the word magic. But for me, this is all data driven. There is no magic. Because the minute there is magic, I'm out of a job, actually.
I'm wondering, so it has the ability then in real time to pull from external databases? Because I don't think that this is a coincidence that it used a specific language. As I said,
Correct.
that's core terminology within the IMO.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct. And you see that we don't claim that we're able to create a machine that is empathic. I'm 100% convinced of that. But what we do is we know that we can have a conversation where the human side of that conversation can feel understood, respected in their context, which is the foundation of how empathy manifests in human conversations. So we're not claiming that, our machines have become sentient and now they exhibit empathy. That's nonsense. But what's important for us is those three elements that communicate empathy: respect, trust, and doing that within your context, as opposed to me doing this in my context and it feels condescending to you.
Yeah, I was gonna I think that's a really good selling point, because if you wanted this type of response right away from a chat GPT, for example, you would have had to give it that prompt.
Yep.
So it
Exactly.
knows, you understand? So
Exactly.
it knows. So
Exactly.
that's a really good selling point, that I didn't even have to prompt it to respond or consider, small island
Correct.
developing states are the less vulnerable, for example.
Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if I
And again, that's what's unique about what we do here. We're not here to replace the human being. We're actually here to create a digital partner that fully understands, respects human beings, and augments their capacities beyond anything any one of us or even collectively can do, because of the huge resources that the machine has, both in terms of memory, storage, researching all the internet. So anything that's publicly published about your organization, our system has access to and can reach it and actually find it and embed it as part of the context for this conversation. Can you imagine?
Also, Ali, don't forget
imagine,
the attachments.
Yes. Yeah. Can you imagine having a consultant that has done their homework so well that they went and fully not just read what you published, but they've internalized it and they're able to inject it back at the right moment in the right context? Even with the best human consultants, we know that's not possible, right? Even if they've done the homework. And again, we're not comparing is the human being better by themselves or the system better by themselves. We really believe that the magic happens in the tango, when you have this dance of collaboration between what the human brings to the table that's unique and the unique capabilities of the system that the human doesn't have. It's that complementarity that creates that beautiful dance.
Yep. And also, I was just commenting, Tiana, if you see at the bottom of the screen says attached file.
Yeah.
So if you have your own internal data, right? Whatever private data you have.
Non-public data.
Non-public data.
Yeah.
And you let's say you guys created a big report with your internal data, whatever it is, you can just attach it and upload it to the system and add that data to the system.
Exactly. So for example, if we were discussing financial constraints and stuff, you could upload, for example, a financial report that shows the financial disparities between the different countries. And of course, that's confidential, so you don't want that published in the internet. And you want it just for the context of this conversation. And this is, again, brings a very important part, which is how we've designed our system to be what we call sovereign AI. In sovereign AI, we don't just depend on publicly available data. That's one. We give you the opportunity to add your own private data to the conversation without the risk of that data now leak into the public, leak into the internet, or even worse, being embedded in the learning of that large language model. For example, if you're chatting with ChatGPT, and guess what? From that point on, anybody who asks questions about your topic has access to that information because ChatGPT has access to that information.
Yeah.
So this idea of sovereign solution is very important because it goes beyond just simple data privacy to thinking about all the aspects of sovereignty about what you are doing and to make sure we respect that again. And that's fundamental again to this quote unquote aspect of empathy that we're trying to exhibit.
What all the system is doing is helping you really get into your brain and express what's out, what you really feel, and you put it into the system, and it gets better and better and better. So the whole basis of this is based on the ancient, Stoic Socrates, in regards to how people learn, the Socratic process. The Socratic process is learned by challenging assumptions and asking questions, right? Not sort of what the ChatGPT does, just, the smartest person in the world spits out an answer, spits out a summarization. The process is not almost, but is respectful of the human on the other side of that, and it engages that human being in that Socratic process of asking questions, eliciting responses, coming back, going back and forth, as Ali puts it, a dance. So that's how we can tease out really these things, and sort of maybe that's the magic in that particular process. So it's based on philosophy, right? And then we combine that with mathematics, and really at the end of the day, that's the bedrock of the 6AI software.
And what you've noticed, Tiana, is with that statement, and rightly so, that while ensuring no countries left behind, it's a confirmation that this is still your narrative, as opposed to you engage me as a consultant and assume that I'm the most qualified consultant. What happens usually is I will hijack your narrative. You know why? Because I believe that I know better. Number one. Number two, the second bias is that the last engagement I've done that's similar to what you're doing will imbue the narrative, and I will rely on that narrative because it worked for me. This is just a human bias towards repeated success, right? And because of that, at the end of the day, even if I finalize this and I hand you over an impressive strategy, you don't feel connected to it because you feel that your narrative has been hijacked. And because of that, you lack confidence in it. It's organization X's strategy, it's not yours. And that will show up in how you present it to your stakeholders and how you are emotionally committed to it or not.
100%.
And what you see in our process is we stay true and we exhibit fidelity as much as we can to your narrative. And that's why we confirm and reconfirm again, because what we care about here is not to prove to you that we're the smartest person in the room or that we can generate a strategy for you. What we're here for is to help you articulate the best strategy given the information, given the context, and given who you are. So you're going to find your fingerprints all over this strategy, 100%. Which as a result leads to higher engagement, high confidence in the outcome, and higher commitment to the execution of that strategy.
Yes.
So if you agree with this statement here, or if you want to modify it, where do you want to go with this from here? Again, you can just say that, do you agree or
That's
disagree
it.
that
Yeah.
it captures
Yeah, I can just say
attention?
that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't have
yeah, you could, yeah.
you don't have to do the heavy lifting here. Most successful interactions I've seen is where the party on the other side is authentic, and including saying, I don't know. That's fine. Our system has no problem dealing with, I agree, I don't know, or actually, you know what? Here is a whole paragraph of what I'm thinking right now. You totally don't understand what I'm talking about. Let me show you what I'm really thinking about. And that's the purpose. The purpose here is not to think for you, but the purpose here is to influence you to start thinking out loud,
Yes.
externalize your ideas and thoughts so that you have better control of how you put them together as this fantastic strategy you're aiming to develop.
So this
Yep.
machine is actually prompting me.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yep.
I didn't want to say that, but you're absolutely correct.
I
That's
like that. I
the
like
point.
that.
So it's just modeling exactly what a consultant would do, because quite often you would know your business better than they do.
Correct.
And so, they ask you a lot of questions, you share with them all the stuff that you have, and they go away and they look at some of the other resources, as Ali said, that they would have done before and try to bring it all together. But sometimes, as he also correctly said, and I see it here quite often, they give me something that doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And it just becomes a paperweight, or you put it in file 13 that you paid a lot of money for.
Yeah, that's the story of my life.
Yeah.
From large consultants to even working in small business development organizations and seeing the amount of payout for quote unquote strategies that are just really fluff is crazy.
100%.
By the way, in subsequent steps, which we don't have here yet, you actually can ask the system to provide you the data to back
Yeah.
up a
Yep.
position or a statement,
Yes.
right? And that's part of actually the system we're building now, is not just to come up with a great idea, a great approach, a great insight, but also to construct the argument that backs it up, whether it's
Correct.
data, whether it's facts about shifts in the market, geopolitical risk, all of these elements. So the same thing here, you can just say, I agree, and move on and see where the conversation is going.
Yep.
Or you can say, I agree, and then you can communicate what your next expectations are, or specifically guide the conversation where you want it to go next in terms of what would you like to see next.
Yeah. So Tiana, do you generally agree with this?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
agree.
Okay. So let's just
The-
use agree and see what
Yeah.
happens.
The other
Okay.
thing you want to add to is that it's dynamic. So as new information comes in, it would update your strategy.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
And also have it on what Ali said about it can show the data. So basically it can show your sources. So it's like write in a thesis or write in something in
Yeah.
university. The professor wants on your essay, on your thesis, the professor wants to see the sources. So the reference page, but bibliography, everything, it's the same concept.
So since we've had consistent agreement so far, it's going to attempt to give you a consolidated problem statement, right? And here it is. I can read it out loud. How might the Caribbean Maritime Organization enable voluntary yet equitable collaboration among member states to align maritime systems and data sharing practices, given significant disparities in technical capacity and financial resources, while ensuring no country is disproportionately burdened or excluded? would you like to me to draft a concise one-pager for internal or stakeholder use? It would focus solely on articulating this challenge, no solutions or root cause, using the language we've refined here.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can see the process. It didn't just from the first interaction spit this out, right? But it came to a point where now you can take this one pager and you have full confidence that you were a full participant in creating the content of this. The wordsmithing is the system, but the ideas, the direction, the essence of this is you. You're the one who selected which things to keep and which things to exclude.
So
Do you find
Ken,
this one pager useful?
Yeah, I'm reading through it now. Okay, so okay, from this, my next question would be then, given we've identified the problem, produce some key next steps.
Yes.
correct, correct. So I just want to maybe work can tell her about the 6-step process, right? Because this is, or I'll just do it. I mean, or work, you want to do that, or you want me
No,
to?
you go ahead. You go
Yeah,
ahead,
okay.
man.
So what you have here, right? What the success we've been finding is that the company is called 6AI. The reason for it being called 6AI is because we have a 6-step strategy to deliver it. We have 6 steps to delivering strategy. So this is AI 1, right? This is the prototype AI 1, which basically identifies the strategic question, right? From
Mhm.
there, right? Once we've done that, then there's a 6-step process that you go through, okay? And then literally what will happen is you'll get a full blown strategy. You can add photos, you can add graphs, you can add data, you can add more stuff, whatever it is, right? So so basically that's what it is. So but what you have here now, right? So let me just give you this example. Are you familiar with Canva?
Yes.
So we're the Canva strategy. So you can, as you know, you can build great presentations with Canva and all that. It's the same thing. So it's just strategy, but we can also use, we can import photos, graphs, and have a full blown presentation, 5 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, whatever it is. But it takes you through the 6 steps.
The only thing I'd add to that, Perry, is it's not just about producing a deliverable.
Yeah.
It's about the value of the content in that deliverable
Correct.
and the fact that it is actionable. It's not just a bunch of theory or
Yes.
you should be doing this, you should be doing that. To give you an example, we just asked it, can you produce some concrete next steps? And this will give you a taste of what next steps it suggests to even just to transition to step 2 of the 6AI process, right? And you'll see they're not just theoretical recommendations, they're actually specifics and they have activities. It gives you, here is the activity you need to do, and here is why you want to be doing that, right?
So the first one is something we've already considered. So in terms of practicality, that's good.
The phase 1,
Yeah, the phase 1.
okay. What do you think about suggestion of phase 2?
Same thing. A lot of that goes towards building stakeholder and political will.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Very important.
This is something we are struggling with.
Designing incentive-based frameworks so that
Yeah, number 3.
you don't
Yeah,
have to force, you have to rely on incentives.
Right, yeah. Secure regional funding partnerships. Okay, we have that down. Launch a knowledge sharing hub. Okay. Yeah, so we had maybe about two or three of these five.
Good.
But just down
That's
as areas, to explore, nothing built out.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
But it's interesting given the fact that this is just the first step out of
Yeah.
the 6 clusters.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
said in terms of practicality, yeah, and this is exactly what we're looking for.
Perfect, perfect. So would this be, again, and in each one of the steps, so what I like about this, it kind of confirms what you guys have been thinking, but now I think it's been confirmed. It's gone through the due diligence of the data, right? Because I think
Yeah,
what's
so that
important,
we're thinking is
yeah,
correct.
yeah, like what's important that you guys may have these particular concept downs, but have you tested it through the data? And I think this heavy lifting is what's important. And in each one of these concepts, when it goes through the 6 steps, we will assure and warrant, because we are going through the data and basically testing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to, Ali, if you can email me the printout, right?
Sure.
And if you can email me the printout for the one we did yesterday too, and I'll send it to Tiana. But Tiana, I think I want to ask you a very straightforward question. Is this something you can take to your board, your stakeholders, and say, this is a blueprint of what we have to do and where we have to go? Would you be comfortable taking this to your stakeholders?
Well, I have to take it to my team. We have a
Okay.
strategic planning meeting, so that's why I wanted this meeting before too.
Oh,
So this
perfect.
is this is something, in fact, that I will be taking to them
Perfect.
to show them, as you said, especially this last part, just in realizing, okay, we're kind of on the right path, but we might
Yes.
need some tweaking.
Yes.
I will definitely be presenting all of this to them.
Perfect.
Because you
Perfect.
guys don't
And
have a look at we have an internal strategic plan that we had developed for the first 6 months of the project. So we're
Mhm.
gonna be using that along with our latest project report to the donors to kind of
Okay.
assist with the strategic planning. So this would feed into that.
Perfect. Perfect. And you know what? This is a really good outcome. And I'm just gonna you mentioned teams, right? So just imagine like when you guys have this software at your disposal. It won't be Work and I and Ali here. You guys will be doing this yourself, right? And you'll be
Yeah.
doing this
Absolutely.
yourself you can be doing this yourself with teams. So, you know, multiple people at the same time could be, talking in or doing this. So as a team, you guys will be able to build this. So you wouldn't have to go through the step of, well, you could, it's up to you, but I'm just saying, you may not have to go through the step of you doing this by yourself and then bring it to your team. You can do this as a team effort because
The brainstorming session.
brainstorm is a team effort because the best way to get people to buy in, okay, is to let them have or believe they participated in building something, good and great because they feel a part of the team. So this promotes, a team culture. And if everybody's on board, you also de-risk the fact of maybe a team member, trying to, play politics in the office or whatnot. But if everybody's doing it, particularly even in a sovereign mode, I think, well, I will ask you, what does that present value to your organization?
Of course, I really do think it does. And for me, one of the key points is the ownership and having that autonomy. That's one of the key selling points for me. Thank you so much.
No problem.
But
No
I
problem.
do feel the rest of my team are gonna be on board as well.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what we're
Fantastic.
looking for. Perfect. Perfect.
Thanks for your time and your feedback. We really appreciate the feedback of our real world users. That's
Perfect.
extremely
Perfect.
helpful for us.
That's the best validation.